Today, we bring you the history of Hannah J. Ashton. This video was produced by Mary Turner Stutes. We'll start at the beginning. The first Ashton to come to this locality was William. He came from Baltimore, Maryland. Family tradition places him here between 1810 and 1820. He was living on land at one of the corners of what is presently Palmer and Graham Roads. It is certain he was here in 1827, because on October 20, 1827, William Ashton bought 159.9 acres from an Ohio land office and received a deed signed by John Quincy Adams, President of the United States. That deed is in the possession of the family today. Here we have a portion of the Truro Township map in a light orange color, and part of the Violet Township map in yellow. Over the next 150 years, the Ashton family would own land on both sides of Livingston Avenue starting east from Half Drive to State Route 256, south on both sides of State Route 256, and east on State Route 204. William Ashton, pioneer to this area, died in 1871 at the age of 92. William's half-brother was Thomas Ashton, born in 1791. His wife was Laura, and their son, Joseph, was Hannah's grandfather. Joseph Thomas Ashton and Hannah Catherine Vernon were married in 1859. To this marriage came 5 sons and 3 daughters. Joseph was a farmer, and he had a large brick house on the current site of the Blacklick Golf Course Country Club. In 1861, Joseph bought the first reaper ever seen in this area. William Vernon Ashton was born in 1860, the son of Hannah Vernon and Joseph Ashton. He married Laura A. Patrick in 1887. They had one child whose name was Leroy. Sadly, Leroy passed away at the age of 3 months and 18 days. Laura died at the age of 29 in 1893. Birdie Green was born on Noe Bixby Road in 1869. She graduated from Reynoldsburg Union Academy in 1892, then taught school for 9 years. After 9 years, she quit teaching because in those days, teachers were not permitted to be married. In February of 1901, Birdie Green and Will Ashton were married. A little over 9 months later, they had twins Joseph Covert Ashton and Hannah Jane Ashton. William Vernon Pete Ashton was born in 1909. The William Vernon Ashton house and barn sat just over the Fairfield County line, 1.5 miles south of Reynoldsburg. The barn was built around 1904, when Hannah and Joe were small children. The house was built around 1898 by carpenter Ul Myers. The house and outbuildings were torn down around 1966, to make way for the Interstate 70 entrance ramp off State Route 256. On January 9, 1910, 9-year-old Hannah Ashton, having reached the required age and passed a satisfactory examination, was promoted with honor to the primary department of the Sunday school. In 1915, 14-year-old Hannah Jane Ashton proudly became member number 500 of the Reynoldsburg Presbyterian Church. She was the 4th generation of her family to belong to that church. Lena Linnie Sprague, who was from a prominent local family, graduated from Reynoldsburg in 1908. She went to college and came back to teach. Pictured here in 1916 are her 7th and 8th grade students, including a young Hannah Ashton. Hannah Jane Ashton graduated from Reynoldsburg High School in 1920, and 4 years later, she received her bachelor's degree from Ohio State University. For 2 years she taught at Scotia, a Presbyterian boarding school in North Carolina. In May 1928, she was hired by the Reynoldsburg Board of Education and spent the next 34 years as a teacher, confidant, job counselor, and administrator. When she decided the school needed a library, she visited every library in Franklin County and asked if they had any duplicate books to donate. The result of her efforts was a school library so popular and well-stocked that it was open to the public. Hannah's relationship with the students and her understanding of them went far beyond the classroom activities. Teachers were expected to take part in all sorts of social events bearing the faintest connection with school. And Hannah took pride and pleasure in having groups of students as guests in her home. For many years the townspeople knew they could depend on Hannah for all sorts of jobs. She was the librarian winter and summer, she chaperoned dances, and was an excellent square dancer herself. She was an officer in every organization she ever belonged to and taught a Sunday school class every week. Hannah loved to read. Here she is relaxing with a book outside in her yard. Above her love of books was her attraction and care for animals, and beyond everything was her love for the children. She called all the students at school by their last names, and they all called her Hannah. Here she is with her nephew, Joey, who looks to be just a couple of months old. He was born in September 1938, and the son of her twin, Joseph Covert Ashton. Hannah Ashton never married. When she started her career with the Reynoldsburg school system, women were not permitted to teach if they were married. In 1941, the school board rescinded its action not to hire married women. Men teachers were getting drafted into World War II, and at last, women teachers had a semblance of equal employment opportunities. In 1944, Hannah was elevated to the position of principal, which she retained until retirement. Although she lived about 1.5 miles from the school, Hannah loved to walk to work. Sometimes she would take a shortcut here and there, especially if there was a hole in the fence. She continued to walk until the traffic started to get too heavy. From that point on, she drove her car. In the fall of 1980, Hannah was honored by the Reynoldsburg Truro Historical Society with the Hannah J. Ashton commemorative plate. Here is a newspaper photo of Hannah and her brother William Vernon Pete Ashton II. The plate is of a generous size with a gold rim. It bears her likeness and a picture of the school. In 1981, Hannah and her 2 brothers sat for an interview and photo session with Cornelia Parkinson, who was finishing the book titled History of Reynoldsburg and Truro Township, Ohio. Hannah is seated. Standing behind her is her twin brother, Joseph Covert Ashton, and seated to the right is their younger brother, William Vernon Ashton II, locally known by everyone as Pete. Joseph Covert Ashton was a farmer. His former farmland is now Blacklick Woods Metropolitan Park and Unity Presbyterian Church. William Vernon Ashton II became a farmer and was a longtime member of the Jasper Lodge of the Knights of Pythias. He was a York Rite Mason, Scottish Rite Mason, and has been awarded the York Cross of Honour. The Scottish Rite awarded him the 33rd degree, which is the highest honour in Masonry. The former high school is now a middle school named in her honour, the Hannah J. Ashton School. A memorial stone, designed by Richard W. Parkinson, was dedicated on November 14, 1982, with Hannah Ashton in attendance. Here is the mayor, John Francis, presenting Hannah with a proclamation. She is flanked on each side by her brothers. Pete, in a hat, on her left, and Joe on her right. The memorial stone is a majestic reflection of all the friendships Hannah made during her tenure with the Reynoldsburg school system. In lieu of raising a family, she devoted herself to all the families of this town. She mentored generations of children. Hannah Ashton was a friend to thousands of students and generations of parents. She passed away on August 14, 2000, just 90 days shy of her 99th birthday. Curtis Goldstein began painting the mural on September 12, 2009, starting with a portrait of Hannah Ashton, who was one of the founding members of the Reynoldsburg Truro Historical Society. The 90 by 30-foot mural, which depicts the history of Reynoldsburg and Ohio, is located on the west wall of Cotner Funeral Home in the historic district of Reynoldsburg. Hannah Ashton shares this historical canvas with heroes and remarkable visionaries who bravely risked everything to help others. We hope you enjoyed this video about a remarkable and devoted woman. Thank you for watching.